What's up, everybody? Chef Marcus Guiliano here. Hey, let's talk salmon today. So if you know anything about my restaurant or myself, you know that I am extremely opposed to farmed salmon of any kind, or I should say open pen farms. Open pen farms are the farms where they put in the ocean and they have their nets, and they drop these nets in the ocean with a frame around it. Sometimes they put a lid on it or something, a cover. But these open pens they have holes in them, but the fish are bigger than the holes, so the fish don't swim through the holes. But other fish that are smaller than them out in the wild can swim through, and any diseases and feces and anything else can pass out, just not the actual farmed salmon. This is called open pen farming, which is the most common way salmon farming is done. There's something called closed containment. Closed containment is done inland. It's in like a pool. The fish are in there, the water gets recirculated, it gets filtered, it gets purified and gets sent back into the fish, so none of the feces, lice, diseases can get out into the wild, and nothing from the wild can get into there. It's called closed containment versus open pen. So chances are, if you're buying salmon out on the market somewhere, in a restaurant, in a store, and it's farmed, it is coming from an open pen system. Inland farms is like one up in near Syracuse, New York. There's several of them across the United States, but they're inland. So if you see, where's salmon from? You something like Syracuse, New York. You're like, Syracuse, New York. There's no lake there. There's no ocean there. That's what's going on. It's open. It's a closed containment. Closed containment, by the way, is much better than open pen. So I just want to clarify that. So I like to say I am adamantly opposed of open net or open pen salmon farms. Totally different than closed containment, but there's not many closed. So I've talked about I've talked a lot about how there is a mortality rate in salmon farms, and every single region of salmon farms has a mortality rate. This is because there's no right way to do the wrong thing. For example, you're taking fish that should be out in the wild, that should be swimming 2,000 miles, doing this migratory path, should be going up a river and spawning, and should be eating natural algae and crustaceans to get their natural, what makes salmon a great fish. They're taking them and putting them in farms. And so they've totally taken everything out that's supposed to be part of the wild salmon. And when you do that, there's no right way to do the wrong thing. As a result of that, every salmon farm, no matter how sustainable they say, and this is going to get interesting a little later in this video, no matter what they say, they have some type of disease. Sea lice is every farm. That just happens. So they can claim they're organic, they can claim they're sustainable, they can claim they're this, they can claim they're that. They can be certified for or best choice on Monterey Bay Aquarium's Seafood Watch. There's no right way to do the wrong thing. So this is from October. This is a report from October from Scotland on that. Scotland claims to have some of the best farmed salmon in the world, the purest farmed salmon in the world. Rick Moon supports Scottish farmed salmon. It's on his sushi menu, and Rick Moon is supposed to be the godfather of sustainability of seafood. And I tried to ask him this in person in Vegas a few years ago, and it never happened. He knew I was coming too, and I saw him in the restaurant when I walked in, and he wouldn't come out to talk to me at the bar. But I did speak to his executive chef. He came out to me, and I think I educated his executive chef on some of this stuff, and really posed some questions that he could not answer for me. So, Scotland salmon monthly mortality report for October 2022. So the mortality rate, Scotland has to be one of the higher mortality rates. But mortality rates range from 10, 20, 30%, right? So that means 1 to 3 out of every 10 fish will die because of this, they're disease-ridden, that's toxic, the water, something's wrong that's killing the fish. Now, if you drove by a beef farm, a cattle ranch, and you saw 1 to 3 out of every 10 cattle drop dead out in the ranch, out on the land, you'd be like, I'm never eating beef from that farm again. The beef are dying. There's something wrong in that farm that's killing off 10 to 30% of the beef. You wouldn't eat it. You'd be like, no way. But salmon farming is totally different because you don't see that. They hide that from you. And you go to their websites and they don't show you that. But there is, this mortality issue that happens in every farm. Doesn't matter if it's Scotland or the Faroe Islands, or you can look this up. Google mortality rates for such and such region of salmon, and you'll be able to get most likely government reported mortality rates. So here's some government mortality rates from Scotland. So, and I'll try to upload this here so people can see this. The lowest farm here in Scotland was 11.4%. 11 fish out of every 100, 11.5% fish out of every 100 were dying because of a viral disease. It's hard to pronounce a lot of these names, these Scottish names. Backafrost, Scotland. Scottish Sea Farms Ltd. In Nevis. 12.2% gill health-related environmental. Loch Duhart. Now, this is interesting, folks. Loch Duhart claims to be one of the most sustainable salmon farms out there. All right, Loch Duhart. You look at their website. The people who sell their fish here in New York claim that Loch Duhart is gold seal stuff. Right? 12.4 fish out of every 100 are dying because of gill health in the month of October. How can you lose 12 fish out of every 100, 12%, and be the gold seal, the gold standard for sustainability? And of course, it only goes up from here. Backafrost again, Backafrost, Scotland, and 2 other locations, 22%, 22.3%. Loch Duhart, another one of their farms, Loch Carnan, 26% of Loch Duhart. Now, Loch Duhart again is the gold seal of approval for sustainability. And as we go up this list, it's 26%. Backafrost, 30%. Another Backafrost, 38%. The very 45%. Scottish Sea Farms, gill health related environmental. Here we go. The number 1 fish farm, salmon farm in Scotland. Scottish Sea Farms. They've been on this list a lot here. And there's not many companies, so these companies have different areas. So this is why they're a repeat on names. Their Nevis B location, 74%. 74 fish out of every 100 died. That means 26 fish survived. Where do those 26 fish go? Did they make it out into the market? Did they make it onto your plate? Or did they just throw them out? I don't believe they would just throw out thousands and thousands of fish. It's revenue, all right? This other 74 fish did go to landfills, did go wherever, and there's a whole nother thing on where these actually fish that die end up. But we're talking, folks, we're talking hundreds of thousands of fish here in Scotland for the month of October alone that are not going into production, that are so disease ridden that they're dying in the farms.
All right, so here's a shocking part. 3 out of 4 fish died in that farm. But that particular farm is certified welfare friendly by RSPCA Assured and Farm Scotland Sea Farms, which is exclusive supplier to Marks and Spencer. And it's farmed responsibly by the Aquaculture Stewardship Council. Can you believe that? This farm is actually certified welfare friendly and sustainable, and 74 fish out of every 100 are dying.
And again, if you saw 2 beef out of every 10, 20% out of every cattle drop dead while you're driving past them on your way to work, you'd be like, I'm never eating beef from that farm. Something's wrong with that farm. I don't know who would eat the other 8 out of 10 cattle there, right? But in the fish world here, it's totally different. So folks, you really have to let other restaurateurs know, other chefs know. You have to let people know that this is a serious issue. These salmon farms are destroying the environment. They're destroying the wild fish. But this is why Atlantic salmon is still on the endangered list. This is why Atlantic salmon is still in critical population numbers, because these salmon farms are put in the direct migratory path of the wild salmon. And the wild, if that gill health related stuff, if the environmental, if these viral diseases, all these causes of death, bacterial disease, if all of these are in the farms, they're outside of the farms. when the baby fish, after they spawn in the rivers and they swim down into the ocean, are swimming past the salmon farms, they're going to get these diseases. They're going to be affected. You're going to be impacted. At that point, a lot of the fish have no chance of living. And this is why the population of wild Atlantic salmon keeps decreasing. The population of wild Pacific salmon, where there are no farms like Alaska, the population keeps increasing. There's record runs. Sure, there's up years and down years, right? There's bad years and good years. But they're still having amazing runs with great abundance because there are no salmon farms in the way to destroy the natural migration and habitat of the wild salmon. Super important, super important. Thank you everybody for watching. I appreciate it. If you like this, please drop a comment. Please share it. Please educate other people, and please eat better for your own health and the health of the oceans. People talk about how the oceans are becoming very polluted and this and that, and these farms are one of the main causes of pollution. I mean, these farms are detrimental. Agriculture in general is very detrimental to the quality of our oceans, like the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, all the agricultural runoff in the Midwest of the United States. That goes down into the Gulf of Mexico through the waterways, especially the Mississippi River, and just drops this whole dead zone there. So agriculture is a big issue. Fish farming, aquaculture is up there. It pollutes everything. It destroys everything. It destroys other species besides salmon, lobsters, all these kind of stuff, because a lot of these people are spraying, a lot of these farms are spraying some harsh chemicals or applying harsh chemicals to the water, which is killing off other things in these bays, in these waterways. That's very detrimental. So please share this. If you want me to do a masterclass on this kind of stuff, or a speech, or talk to a group, especially for Earth Day or any other things on eating better, any kind of group, a gym or whatever, please reach out to me. I love talking about this stuff, and we can make it a whole educational and eye-opening experience. In the meantime, share, like, comment, and see you at Aroma Thyme.